I would like to see numbers associated with them. I heard one time that somebody said the board doesn't want to hear so much numbers. Fiddlesticks. This board member wants to hear numbers. And this board member asked questions. At one time, we had one of those consultants come in to survey one aspect of the district. And we had a closed session summary. And you know me, I said, can't we see the whole report? And there was a big conflagration, consultation here and there. We're board members. We got to see everything. And finally, we did get to see the full report. And another board member said, that means I've got more to read. Yeah, and it means you're going to learn more about the district and what this outside evaluation group thought about us. So that's my approach to being on the school board.
Thank you. Candidate Runyon.
Thank you. I guess the first thing I bring is 12 years of experience and learning how to balance the demands of this work with my job and my family. And in terms of specific skills, I would say I have a degree in math. I'm very passionate about math education. I've worked as a math tutor. I'm frustrated with the achievement in math, and I continue to push for that. I think one of the things that I really like to focus on, besides the budget, which we've already talked about, is what's coming next. That I think education's going to change substantially. I don't think it has changed substantially in the last 50 years that you've got an expert in front of the room presenting information. But I think in the last 5 years, it's changed more than the 45 prior. And I know we've got some teachers sitting out there. I think that they would agree. And I think that's going to continue, and we have to be looking for the opportunities to do better and look at where students missed a particular skill that if they gained that skill would change their entire relationship with school. You know, kids that don't do well in math come to believe that they'll never do well in math, and then you have to fight not only on the skill issue, but you have to fight on the mindset that they have about the subject matter. And so it's really important to catch students' divergence from the expected skill set early and remedy it. And that's one of the things I think we've done a really excellent job is the interventions that we've put in place. Used to be you would go to summer school if you didn't pass, but now you can go after school and take things, retake things. There are things like Khan Academy that are available if you didn't really understand the way that, sorry.
Thank you. Candidate Prusso.
So my husband he jokes with me that my degree in literature is basically only good for working as a barista at Starbucks. So I'm hoping that that will help here too, because it appears as though there is a lot of reading and writing involved in being on school board, and that is something that I have the skills to be able to do. I also, as I mentioned, have had the opportunity to serve on site council at both East Avenue and Livermore High School, and while serving, and I'm still serving on site councils there, was able to help collaborate on the single plan for student achievement for both of those schools, and learned a lot from that experience. And also, as I mentioned before, I have 3 kids in the district, and I think that gives me a different perspective because I'm living right now. My kids are home doing homework. I'm living it right now. And also, I feel that I'm a pretty even-tempered person, and I am very willing to collaborate. And I think on my preschool report card, I got along well with others. So I'm hoping that still applies. And then lastly, what I just wanted to mention is that I do have the time. Right now, I'm a full-time stay-at-home mom. My husband and I do own a business, but I'm mostly a stay-at-home mom. So I do have time that I'm able to commit to this. So that's what I bring to the table.
Thank you. Candidate Von Heater.
So, besides being on site council at Lawrence and the district-wide LCAP, and then also book fair coordinator at Lawrence, I have worked almost 20 years as a manager in the irrigation industry. I built high-performing teams, worked as a leader, mentor, and trainer to other managers and my employees. Something really speaks to me working with people in a collaborative way. The last couple of years, I've been reading some literature about superintendent-board relationships. I think I'd be key with that. I think I understand the governance team dynamic and how to succeed in that. In terms of perspective, I don't think I have a stronger one. I'm in the classroom with teachers. I hear what they're struggling with. I hear what they need. I'm after school talking with parents. Same kind of thing. Their time demands, how they're juggling homework loads and after school activities, and getting sons to violin classes. 7:30 in the morning. I think that perspective is valuable in terms of what they're dealing with and struggling right now. Talking to them on the soccer fields after a game, I just think I have an insight, kind of a holistic insight from again being on site council and LCAP down to working with families day in and day out. That I think is key in this role.
Thank you. And candidate Bueno.
Well, I spent my entire adult career as a professional firefighter. I spent half of that on the labor side, where I was a union leader, and half of it in management. I managed a multi-million-dollar budget. I was one of a handful of people that did the city's investments, which were relatively large money. So that gave me some unique skills in terms of dealing with budgetary stuff. My perspective, I had 3 kids who went through here, all their friends. I stay in touch with those kids. The reason that I've coached where I coach and why I stay at that exact level, because it's given me kind of a control point. I deal with 15-year-old, mostly males, that are at a school that I believe are at a fork in the road. I'm there 6 days a week. And kids have changed a little bit. I think they've gotten better. The manners and things like that, with things like the Character Counts program, it's remarkable what we're seeing in the kids. I think they need more challenges. I've enjoyed my experience there, and I think that coming out of the fire service, we have community-based, geographically located fire stations throughout a community. When I came here, it kind of mirrored that. So one of the things I used was a lot of private, public, all partnerships and consensus building with our teams, and it was very effective. When I came over here, I talked with the superintendent, and that was the basis of putting the teleconference system with Cisco, bringing that into the district. It was a way to link people, to communicate. Communication has changed vastly. That's one of the things that's a skill, I guess. But I guess my perspective is simply that I was an organizational guy that was able to build excellence in the absence of good budget. And I lived through that, and I was very successful with it. And I have a lot of understanding of labor and management on equal basis. So I just like to utilize that. I've got a granddaughter that's going to be coming up to the school district, and so I want to make sure that it's right for this community.
Thank you. Great. So everybody has answered question number 3. We are going to question 4. Excuse me. So candidate Runyon, you'll be starting this round. What are the most important decisions you will make as a board member?
Wow. Hiring the superintendent is the most important decision that the board makes, I think. Passing a budget is critically important. Setting priorities, because there's always more that you can do in every area. And it's a difficult thing to say no, but it's a thing that we have to say, because there's only the budget that we have available that's given to us by the state, unless we raise it ourselves as a community, which we've done a couple of times. We've got the president of LVF sitting in the audience, and Pedrosi also working toward filling the gaps in things that we think are important but not fundable. That's critically important. I think the other thing is thinking about the moving parts. We talked before about the importance of our employees, and we have a great employee base. But that employee base will turn over, and the employees of the future are the ones we need to be thinking about today. How do we continue to attract? What is it that we've done that has made our employees vote us as a top workplace? Identify those things, continue to work on those things, try to meet the barriers to attracting and retaining really quality employees. And frankly, right now, we are the destination employer in the region in education. And that's a really wonderful place to be, and we need to continue to be that. So I think that to sum it up, fiscal responsibility, hiring the superintendent, and all the employees down the line are critically important to the success of the mission. Those decisions.
Great, thank you. Candidate Prusso.
Okay. Obviously, I've never done this before, so this is just from watching these people at work and doing a little bit of research. And I feel like I think one of the most important things that this board does is that it advocates for children. I don't think that there are a lot of public offices that do advocate for children as much as a school board does, and I think that is probably one of the most important things. And going along with that would be to being able to have strong communication with the community, with the students, with the parents, and the community at large in making sure that you can advocate for those children. And also having a good relationship with not only the other members of the board, but also with the superintendent and the people in the district, so that you can make sure that you can effectively advocate for them. And then also I would say that another really important thing is setting really clear direction for the goals of the district, whether that's through policy or just an effective structure, whether it's helping staff, supporting staff, making sure that they have what they need, and also just ensuring that there's accountability to the members of the district, to the board members ourselves, making sure there's accountability. And then the last thing I would think is that I think it's really important to be open about the problems and not just the successes. So being open to figuring out what the issues in the district are and working towards a solution rather than only focusing on the successes. And again, that is going to mean communication with the community, with parents, teachers, and staff.
Thank you. Candidate Von Heater.
I think the number one decision that I would see us making is making sure we're planning for the future. I grew up in Dublin, and it's still very near and dear to my heart, and I see what they've been struggling with in terms of the high school and the lack of coordinated development between the city and the school district. And it's fractured the community over there in very many respects, and it's allowed for a lot of kind of rancorous discourse to not really achieve anything, not really succeed in growing the academic community of the kids. And I'd like us not to get to that point. Livermore is an attractive, growing community with the downtown, the success of the school district, the top workplaces. I completely agree with that. There's an attraction here that I'd like to see perpetuated. And I think if we take our eye off the ball and just worry about kind of right now, we're not looking for the future in terms of that development in those spaces and where we might need growth in terms of buildings and facilities and sites, and are we using the sites now the best way we can. The second thing is I've got a lot of great relationship with teachers, and I think it's not necessarily just about attracting them, it's about retaining them. And we've talked a little bit about there is only so much money to go around. Well, when I was a manager, sometimes it's not always about the dollars and cents. It's about how you treat people, how you support them when they're going through difficult times in their lives, and or even the best times in lives when they're starting a family. Are they getting the best support they can? A lot of young families want to move here, and some of those are going to be teachers. Are we supporting them? Are we giving them some resources and guidance to help them succeed in growing a family in Livermore? Along those lines too is thinking outside the box with those resources, those teachers, the staff, things like after-school care, workforce housing, just thinking outside the box in terms of what we can offer teachers to retain them and help them be happy and grow their own families here.
Thank you. Candidate Bueno.
Yeah, there's not on the answer on this one, it's run through us all mostly. To me, what always comes down to on this, it's when you say important, it's what's important to whom at that time. So if you ask any given parent on any given day, their child is the most important thing. And so to me, to serve children, you need good people. So the attraction of good people, the retention of those good people, the development of those good people through professional development, that all all of that is important. And if you don't have good people, you're not going to have good outcome. That's just how an organization works. And it starts at the top, but it doesn't end at the top. But that's where our personal eye is at as board members. You know, we evaluate the superintendent. We're extraordinarily fortunate. You know, I've been in a lot of organizations. I've been on a lot of boards, public boards. I've been in a lot of leadership roles throughout my life. We are extraordinarily fortunate in this community that we have someone who will stay here and allow us to thrive under that leadership. And, you know, it's not meant to be a compliment. To me, that's just a fact, and it's an observation from being on here for 4 years. And so to me, one of my decisions is, what can we do to promote that role? What can we do to support her decision-making? I'm not an expert in education, despite what some in the public may believe. You know, I'm a board member. I had a different career. I'm not an educator. This is an extraordinarily educated group of individuals, of adults, and they have professional opinions. It's my job here to look at it as oversight, to look at it, be an eyes and ears of the public, to come in, ask some questions. But at the end of the day, if either you like what their opinion is, you respect it, you ask some questions. But we have professionals here, and we have great leadership. And I think that the superintendent's done a great job of building a team, a strong team, and is not afraid to continue to make the team stronger. And that strong team is going to be in the best interest of children.
Thank you. And Candidate White.
Our first and utmost priority is to operate schools where children are safe and that parents know the children are safe. The whole system and the whole scheme of things falls apart immediately if the parents don't feel their children are safe when they commit them to our hands for, 6.5 hours every day, depending on the grade level. After that, we hire a superintendent to carry out our policies and directives, the first of which is to keep our children safe. We approve the budget. We negotiate with our bargaining units of all levels, that is the employees, that we have teachers, classified, SEIU, management, and we negotiate contracts with them. The budget sets the priorities, and the policies and the negotiations then set how you carry it out. It turns out that the California School Boards Association and school trustees like us are the children's lobby in California. We lobby for safe schools, we lobby for adequate education, we lobby for teacher training, all the manner of children things, California School Boards Associations. And I would invite you to come in March. The date has already been set for the California School Boards Association Lobby Day in Sacramento. I hope you will meet our representatives before that, but we'll say the date in March. We are fresh from the California School Employees Association endorsement panel discussion last Thursday. And we know that the TOPS survey that was done surveyed 66% of our folks. We heard at the CSEA forum from some of the other 34%, and we need to set up a system so that we can hear from them.
Thank you, Candidate White. Okay, so that concludes question number 4. We are starting question number 5, and it begins with Candidate Prusso. Oh, put my glasses on. If elected, how do you plan to balance the needs of every group you will serve as a trustee?
So I think that hopefully that policy will help with this, but also I think communication, again, is probably the most important thing with trying to figure out what the needs are of every group. And obviously there are a lot of groups that you serve when you're on the school board. You serve the community, you serve the students, you serve the teachers, the staff. So there's a lot of working pieces, and I think that the communication needs to be really clear. How people can communicate with the school board needs to be really clear, whether that's via the website, email, phone numbers, That's one thing that there needs to be a policy on how that happens, or whether someone comes to a school board meeting to communicate what their issues are. As far as communications that I am not familiar with because I haven't been on school board before, and that would be like union negotiations and those sorts of things that will happen behind closed doors. But I think that there is a policy and procedures in place for that kind of communication. But I think the main thing is just to be open and also able and willing to listen. Sometimes people come with issues and questions, and it's easy for us to dismiss them and not listen. But I think the main thing is to listen and to validate validate their concerns, and then make sure that they get to the right person, whether it's the superintendent or whether it's the director of student services or whoever that is. There may be a little bit of directing traffic there, but I think the main thing is just being open and willing to communicate with people in the community and also employees of the district.
Thank you. Candidate Von Heater.
I think, the reality is there is, finite resources that come into education. But I think at the end of the day, I think, if you have a transparency, an ethical compass, and you communicate even-handedly, I think you're going to achieve a lot. I think if you kind of live by those rules and work by those rules, you'll move the needle a lot further than any other way to share those finite resources. I tell my sons, in fact, one's in the audience, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. You're supposed to listen twice as much as you talk. And I think that gets you a long way in life. I think whether you're a manager or a trustee or a parent, when you're listening, to listen and to hear what people are telling you, you can kind of put, we have a team up here, a collaborative team to the task to really solve a lot. And so I think some of those tough questions and those challenges, when you're listening to your community and you're being transparent and honest with what you can propose, I think that's how you achieve those goals.
Great, thank you. Candidate Bueno.
First off, I believe we're extremely fortunate here that the majority of that balancing is done because we have excellent leadership in our staff and the administration. So what comes to us is a lot of times, we'll hear maybe an issue, or we'll observe something within the public. We can bring that. We have very good dialogue, and there's not really resistance. It is a matter of a finite budget. One thing I've learned, I've been in leadership my entire adult life, on both sides, is that if you can't listen to the first voice that comes to you, and if it's outside the norm, if it's something that you're not used to hearing, once you've been doing something for a while, you understand what the issues are. But people, it's the first for them. It's important for them. Like here, if it's their child, it's the first time that ever happened to their child in 5th grade. You listen. You might have a resolve. You make a phone call. But if it's something that's outside the norm, you got to listen a little bit more. You got to go out there. You got to gather some more information, bring the issue up, because we don't have enough resources to take care of every single thing. It is a balancing act. There's not a surplus in school budgets. So it comes down to just great management day to day. And that's our job as oversight, is to just simply look at it and make sure that we have good oversight and that there's equity. And I know there's a thing on the board and talks about how equity, that not everyone needs the exact same things to get to the same place. And so I think this district does some things that are extraordinary to make sure that we do serve. We have some extraordinarily unique challenges in this community. People want to compare us to other districts, but this district particularly, we're underfunded, and we have demographic challenges in terms of English language learners and some people that are in severe poverty that other districts don't. Yet, when you compare our academics and our outcome, we're better than other districts. And so when people make decisions on different districts, this is a top-notch district, because this district, and then people love to work here. When you put the package together, we have equity here. We have great balance.
Thank you. Candidate White.
Thank you. First, I think you need to listen hard to everybody. And when you listen really hard, you sometimes find that the needs of each constituency is not always based in money. Sometimes there's a change in approach, a change in attitude. The custodians, if they would clean A before B, it might be better for, that's easy. You have to really carefully think about it. Now, the only time there's really a conflict is when we have to cut the budget, and we haven't done that for many years. And then we have folks that come to the table and say, don't cut mine, cut theirs. And that's really hard. On the other hand, our job is to also continually evaluate what we're already doing to see if it's effective. If there are things that we've chosen to do several years ago because it seemed to meet the needs of that time, and we don't have those needs, or it isn't working, then we can rearrange the priorities. Now, that's one of the things the LCAP, the Local Control Accountability Plan, brings to us. It brings us information about the supports that we're doing for different subsets of children, and then we find out if the efforts are being effective. We need to not just add on because it sounds like a good idea. And like I say, change in attitude, change in culture is not something that costs money. I heard the other day in my listening that a teacher was trying to do something new at a school. A veteran teacher said, not at my school. I'm not doing that. I've been doing what I've been doing for 25 years, and it's been working, and so please don't ask me to change. Now, that's a cultural thing. That's not going to cost money to somehow let the innovative teacher try.
Thank you, Candidate White. And Candidate Runyon.
I'm remembering some painful times in this room right now, and I think that kind of sums up the essence of governance. Governance is choosing, and choosing inevitably means saying no to someone. And when we were sitting here in 2008, 9, 10, dealing with the really severe budget crisis from the state, we had to balance those needs in a very public way. And, you know, Dr. Dunlop is sitting back there. He was sitting up here at this time. And we had to really talk about what mattered. And I think the conclusion we reached at that time was every student deserves their best shot at their first time through education. And that means that the classroom teacher is absolutely the most important thing to prioritize when you're looking at budget cuts. And it was incredibly painful, but I think we did it in a really open, honest, and transparent way when it was excruciatingly painful to do that. Talking about cutting programs when the people that are being cut are sitting in the audience takes a lot of fortitude. And, you know, sometimes that's what the job demands. And so I guess the thing is, I want to associate myself with Mr. Bueno's answer of, you know, it's not necessarily the first or the loudest person that comes. And you have to have an understanding of the scope of the operations in the school district in order to decide how to prioritize them. And so balancing the needs by understanding them, listening, thinking, praying, and taking a real hard look at what we can live without, not because we want to, but because those were the choices we had to make in order to keep the doors open.
Thank you. So we are going to be answering the 6th question. So if Tammy will draw a seating position, we'll see who gets to answer first. Seat 5. So, thank you. All right, so question number 6. Please take your last 2 minutes to tell us what you believe the educational highlights are for our Livermore children.
Well, there's just some remarkable stuff. I mean, we had our migrant kids come out and win some awards. We've had the scholarships. Our academic stuff is we have some challenges. But some of the things that we've done with green engineering over at Livermore High School, remarkable. Some acknowledgments. We've got shop classes in our junior high. Some of the things we're doing with athletics are remarkable. We're putting in 2 new stadiums for both of the comprehensive high schools. We've got gold medal campuses. I mean, Del Val is, there's a lot of challenges for the kids to go to Del Val. A couple years ago, we got a gold ribbon from the state. We've had some very innovative programs, won a couple of these Golden Bells, which is a statewide award to give at the CSBA conference at the end of the year for some things, for some of the younger kids. Expanded some TK programs. There's some remarkable things that are actually happening right now, and all of this is with budget challenges. To me, we're not. When you say you're not there, I mean, some of our academic successes, you see some of these kids, and we looked at some stats the other night at a meeting, and there's kids that are 96%, in terms of like attendance in schools, and student services is still trying to push the number higher. It's like no one's settling on anything. People are striving to be better and better and better. And despite all the challenges that are out there, and all the